Perfect. And then I'm going to share my screen. So, guys, hi. Uh, Slightly husky voice from me this week because I've literally just come back from my hen do. We're rolling with it. It's pretty much back to normal. But if you're wondering why my voice is like that, it's because I've been having some drinks and screaming and shouting around Portugal. So that will be why. But it's great to be back and great to be with you all. Once again, thank you so much for obviously being understanding about me taking a couple of days off. I had a wonderful, wonderful time, but super, super excited to be back with you all. A little bit different this week. Rather than diving into a specific nutrition topic or mindset topic or something, I wanted to go through some things, like 5 things that I wish I knew at the start of my fitness journey. Because I've been thinking about that and I'm always thinking of new ways to like share information with you guys, new ways to teach you guys things. And these are things that genuinely took me a really long time to learn in my fitness journey when I was kind of just starting out. So I want to share them and hope that maybe it can help you guys share some things that maybe you guys haven't thought about before, maybe give you some different perspectives on things that maybe you've not really thought about before. And really, I suppose this is going to kind of be a big thing on sort of mindset and things that I know that if I'd have learned a lot earlier in my fitness journey, it would have been easier for me at the beginning. So we'll dive in. This is going to be a pretty short and sharp one this week. So the first thing really that I wish I knew at the start of my journey is that you're just not going to be motivated pretty much most of the time. I, growing up, was not an active person. I've told you guys this a lot before, but I would say that I repelled exercise. I used to get detention because I wouldn't go to PE at school. I absolutely hated it. I'd feel sick in my stomach every time I had to like play a team sport. Because I was rubbish at sport. Like, we always used to play hockey and netball and stuff at my school. I was absolutely crap. I was always the last person picked, which I do not blame anyone for because I was pretty terrible. I was not very good. But just to say that I didn't grow up as an active person, I didn't grow up as a sporty person. And I used to think that there was something wrong with me because I wouldn't ever feel motivated to exercise. Even when I really properly decided to take my health very seriously when I was about 21 and I was like, I need to exercise, I need to strength train. I'd read that it's good for people to have muscle. Even when I started that, there was always something in the back of my mind that thought there was something wrong with me because I just wasn't motivated a lot of the time. Like the amount of times my alarm would go off in the morning and I would think I would rather do anything but get in the gym right now. I'm going to be really honest with you, like that feeling has never really gone away for me. Don't get me wrong, I love the gym, I love training, but pretty much my alarm always goes off in the morning whenever I go in with Adam or if whether whatever time I'm training. I really don't fancy going. My motivation is usually pretty low. There will be some days where my motivation is really high and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I'm loving going in. Like I love going to the gym on a Saturday morning, for example, because I don't have work that day. I'm not on a tight schedule. I've got time. So I love to go in the gym on a Saturday morning, like get a coffee afterwards and take it slow. But in the week, I'm often really not feeling it. I'm often, often, often very unmotivated. And I would say 50% of the time, maybe even more than 50%, to be honest. I used to think the people that were like athletes or really consistent, really sporty, who had always been sporty growing up, I used to think that they were always motivated and that they always wanted to do it. I have learnt through my time being a coach and being on my own journey that actually just isn't true. It's not true. Every single person I've ever met, and being in the industry for a few years, I have met a ton of coaches. I've met a ton of athletes. I've also coached a lot of people, such as yourselves, on this call. I've met lots and lots and lots of people. I don't know anyone that is motivated 100% of the time. I would say that actually the feelings that I feel of feeling motivated probably less than 50% of the time is also how most people feel. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys feel the same too. Like the amount of times that you think, oh God, I really don't fancy going in the gym today. I'm busy, work is stressful, I've got loads on, or I really would rather just press a button and order a takeaway or order a delivery rather than do my meal prepping or eat the meal prep that I've prepared that is good but isn't as good as a takeaway, right? I have learned that pretty much all of us feel that way. And you won't be motivated all the time. You also don't have to be. Motivation isn't the thing that's going to pull you through. Motivation is really fickle. And I'm sure you guys know this as well. It comes and goes all the time. I wish it stayed longer, but it hardly ever does. What I've learned is that successful people, when it comes to health and fitness, but also I think for anything, aren't motivated 100% of the time. It's not just a me thing. It's also not just a you thing. It's a universal thing. The difference is that the people that are really successful are better at taking action when they don't feel like it. So if I could give you guys a piece of advice on this, it's embrace the fact that you don't feel motivated. Accept that it's going to happen and it's going to be there, but then park it. Our brains has now basically been scientifically proven that we do not rely on motivation first, action second. That's not how our brains work. How it actually works is we have to be willing to take action first. Then the feeling of motivation comes after. That is actually how our brains are wired and how our brains work. So if you very often don't feel very motivated right now, good. Like honestly, it's a really normal thing, it's a really universal thing, and I'm exactly the same. But it's like practicing using a muscle. Like you go in the gym to get stronger, to build bigger muscles, to get better over time. This is exactly the same thing. This is working a muscle in your brain. You have to flip the switch and think, I'm not motivated, but I've got to be willing to take the action regardless. It's very hard to do in the beginning, but it gets easier over time. It is like working a muscle. It gets stronger, it gets easier over time. The people that succeed, the people that get the transformation, are the ones that learn to ignore those voices in the back of their head and think, you know what, I'm really not feeling it, but I've got to do it regardless. I've got no choice. And a really good thing to think of is this is the 10-minute rule that I often say to you guys as well. So if you're really not feeling it and you're super unmotivated, just lie to yourself. Just tell yourself, you know what, I'm just going to do 10 minutes. I'm just going to go into the gym and I'm just going to do 10 minutes. Or I am going to start cooking something, but I'm going to make it a 10-minute recipe. I'm only going to spend 10 minutes doing it. 9 times out of 10, you'll start. Starting is the hard part, and you will finish it. You'll finish the workout, you'll finish the meal, whatever it is that you're doing, you'll finish the steps. You'll go to bed at the time you said you were going to go to bed at. This is the thing that really needs to be learned, I think, and something that took me a very, very long time to learn because, like I said, I used to think there was something wrong with me, but it's really not the case. So that's the first one. Number two, the scale will never make you happy. And I can very confidently tell you that. I know that in this process and in this program, because pretty much all of you right now are in a calorie deficit and focusing on weight loss, we use the scales. The scales come up a lot because it's the data that we collect. And the talk that I did last week talked about why we use the scales and why they're a part of it and why they are helpful. But they shouldn't be the only thing that you focus on. I cannot tell you, in my teenage years, especially growing up with insane diet culture, desperately wanting to see the scales go down and thinking that I had more self-worth or more value if the scale was lower this week than the week before. It's not the case. We often think, and I used to think, that the next weight milestone is finally going to be the thing that makes you feel more confident. And don't get me wrong, when the scale comes down, it's a great feeling if you're working on weight loss, especially when you go into double digits, right? When you get below 100 and you get to 99.9, that is something we always celebrate and it's something to be really proud of. But if the scales are the only thing you focus on, you are never going to be happy. You are just going to be on this never-ending hamster wheel of chasing a number, chasing a number, chasing a number, but never being fully happy because you'll get there, you'll get to that number, and you'll just want the next thing. Confidence and happiness isn't found at a number on the scales. It's one part and one facet of the journey, and it's one piece of data you need to collect, but it shouldn't be the only thing that gives you worth or gives you joy. I've put in here like people who hate themselves at 120 kilos still often find the things to hate when they're at 90 or when they're at their dream weight, whether that's like 80 or 70 or 60, whatever it is. If you have those feelings when you're at the weight that you don't want to be at, you're going to find a way to have those feelings at the weight that you want to be at. You've got to work on both. You've got to work on the external and you've got to work on the internal. If you only chase weight goals, if you only chase aesthetics, you are going to be on that never-ending hamster wheel because as humans, we're going to get there and then go, yeah, well, it's cool. I've got there now. Like, I've got to that weight category. I've got to 99, but I wish I was 95 now. You'll get to 95 and go, I wish I was 90. The goalpost never stops because it's just how we're wired. So the scales are important. The scales give you a reading and give you a metric, but you need to focus on the other things as well. And this took me a very, very, very long time to learn. I'm glad I've learned it, but it took time. Other things are going to bring you so much more joy. So, the weekly photos that you take, for example, is one. How your clothes fit, more energy, sleeping better, showing up better at work and with your family and with your loved ones and with your kids, feeling more confident, going on holiday and being in a swimsuit or a bikini and not hating how you feel or not even being worried about how you look. All of this stuff matters so much more. So focus on that stuff. And also, focus on the feeling of getting stronger in the gym, lifting more weight, becoming a healthier version of yourself. That's the stuff that really, really counts and really matters. And if you only chase the scales, you are just going to kind of be bitterly disappointed in your journey most of the time. Number three, your future is going to be built on ordinary days. Most of this process is pretty unglamorous. Most of this process isn't very dynamic, isn't very exciting. Of course, there's great moments on this journey, but the body that you want, the health that you want, the life that you want is going to be built on a random Tuesday when nobody is watching. It's not going to be glamorous. It is going to be repetitive. It is going to be boring. There are going to be days where you're like, oh, for God's sake, I've got to meal prep again. Oh, I've got to go out and hit 10K steps again. I've got to go to the gym again. There are moments when it gets dull and it gets boring and it gets repetitive. I'm not saying that you need to be miserable on your journey and you need to be bored. Absolutely not. But there are going to be times when it is boring. But the thing is, the boring stuff is the stuff that works. And that's why a lot of people aren't willing to do it. A lot of people aren't willing to go into the gym day after day. A lot of people aren't willing to spend 30 minutes to an hour on the weekend meal prepping and eating similar meals when they're trying to lose weight. A lot of people just aren't willing to do that because it's not sexy and it's not glamorous, right? But mastering the boring stuff is what changes everything. And you have to be willing to be a little bit bored in your journey sometimes and repeat over and over and over again. But the thing is, I always personally think that, being a little bit bored on your weight loss journey, like being in your calorie deficit sometimes, I would say that that is far less painful than not doing the repetitive stuff and having a life where you feel underconfident, unhealthy, unhappy, not liking what you see in the mirror, wishing that things were different. I would say that that is more discomfort than maybe making the boring choice and repetitively going in the gym and maybe having similar meal preps. I personally think that it's the lesser of two discomforts, and I know which one I would choose every time. Yes, it can be a bit boring. Yes, it can be a bit repetitive, but your future is going to be built on those really ordinary days. Like I said, that random Tuesday when no one's clapping you and no one's cheering for you. That is just the way it is, and that's the way it is, and that's why it's hard. And here I've put as well, like just beware of shiny object syndrome as well. It's really tempting when we are doing this process. Like I said, this process is simple, but it does require a level of repetition. What can happen is sometimes we can get attracted to the shiny new object. We see, I don't know, some latest app that's been developed that promises you it's going to make your life 10 times easier. Or there's, the latest fad product or diet shake or diet pill or supplement that's being pushed and marketed at you online to say, you can drop all of that and do this one magic thing and it will magically solve all of your problems. Just beware of that shiny object syndrome. Usually, those things that seem too good to be true, that promise you insanely fast results or to take all of this work away, they are usually just a quick fix and don't work. And that's why not everybody does them. And, if they worked, everybody would do them. We wouldn't be doing this stuff. It's just something to be aware of. It's going to feel ordinary sometimes. It's going to feel a bit repetitive sometimes, this process. It is even going to feel a bit dull and a bit boring sometimes. Yes, absolutely. I've been there. I know how it feels. But just know that that's sometimes what it takes. And it's, like I said, choose your uncomfortable. Which one would you rather go with? Just beware of that shiny object syndrome. Don't get sucked into something that's promising the world that seems too good to be true because the stuff that is basic, getting your steps in, strength training, sleeping, a calorie deficit, and logging your food, that is the stuff that works. And that is the only stuff that works. And I can tell you that after being a coach for many, many years. So I wish that I'd spent less time buying all these fad products and like trying all these things and hoping the shiny object syndrome would pull me through. I wish I'd spent less time doing that at the start and more time just stepping back and being like, you know what? I've got to master the basics and I've got to be willing to do the basics over and over again because that's what works. Two more. Next one. You are capable of far more than you have convinced yourself. Like I told you guys, I'm not a naturally athletic person, I would say. I'm not a naturally sporty person. I absolutely detest cardio. I grew up with a very, very poor transferring and I grew up with very limiting beliefs on myself when it came to health and exercise and nutrition and fitness. I was always someone that used to say all of these things. I've always struggled with the gym. I've always struggled with my body and never been happy. I've never been sporty. I'm not an exercise person. No one in my family is sporty or athletic, so I'm not either. It's not in my genes, it's not in my genetics. Like all of this stuff that I used to tell myself, many of us have spent years collecting evidence for why we can't do things. Like this stuff, oh, it's in my genetics, I just can't lose weight, or I've got a family history of it, so it's not in my genetics, I can't do that either, or I don't identify as an athletic person. I've tried loads of times and it's failed, so I'm doomed to fail forever now every time I try to lose weight. We collect evidence for this, but we think it's fact because we spend so long telling ourselves these things in our head, of filling ourselves with these things in our head. We think it's evidence, we think it's fact, but it's not fact. They are stories most of the time. They are stories that we've either told ourselves or people in our lives have told ourselves for a long time. So what happens over time is we end up convincing ourselves that we're not capable of much. We're not capable of doing things. Until I was 21, 22, I always said, I'm never going to be an exercise person. I'm never going to have the body that I want. Like, it's just not written for me. It's just not in the stars for me. There were so many self-limiting beliefs that I was putting on myself, telling myself these things. You absolutely have the power to change the narrative that you have given yourself. And it took me an incredibly long time to do that. It took me years and years and years to unpack those self-limiting beliefs that I had about myself and unpack that identity. And I know that a lot of you guys struggle with that too, but seriously, if I can do it, if I can go from being the only girl in primary school not picked to be on my netball team because I was so crap at sport, and being bottom set PE, and always being totally miserable in how I looked, and always trying like the latest stupid fad diets with my friends, and like doing the cabbage soup diet for 2 days and failing and thinking I was doomed. Seriously, if I can overcome it, I know for a fact that every single one of you listening to this call can as well. It's so funny how we put labels on ourselves and we convince ourselves that they're fact, and they're not fact, they're fiction, and we have the power to change it. Where your focus goes, the energy flows. So if I could give you guys a big piece of advice here, is if you continuously tell yourself that you're not worthy, you can't do this, you're crap, you're not consistent, you can't stick to things, you can't lose weight. The more that you tell yourself that, that energy is going to go there and you are going to really start to believe it. And the things that you tell yourself, your brain really starts to believe. So it's about unpicking those self-limiting beliefs. You don't necessarily need to know where they've come from. They might have come from yourself, they might have come from an experience or a relationship that you had when you were younger or previously. It's not important to know where they've come from. What you do need to know is just that they are there and they are not true. And it's about quietening those and actually realizing that most of the limitations that we put on ourselves aren't limitations that are real. They are things that we've put on ourselves, and we've created our own kind of prisons on that. So you absolutely have the time to break through it, and you are capable of so much more than you convince yourself. If you don't feel like a sporty person right now, you can become someone that trains consistently. If you don't feel like you're someone that can eat well right now, you can absolutely flip that narrative and become someone that eats better. It's absolutely possible. It's just really crazy how much power our brains can have over us. And the final thing that I wish I'd learned is you don't have to, you get to. This is a big one. I feel like, since losing my dad this year, I have absolutely massively learned that too. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to go to the gym. No one's forcing you. And also, no one's coming to save you either, really. Like, you get to do this. And because, like I said, I didn't grow up as a sporty person, like, especially in my first few years before I was a coach, I wanted to change. I wanted to build my body. I was enjoying it overall, but I also did have a bit of a, I would say probably like a bit of a woe is me mindset, and maybe a little bit of victim mentality creeping in there. I would always say like, oh God, like, oh, it's so hard. Like, it's so hard that I have to get in the gym and I have to do this stuff, and like it's unfair, and like why do I have to do this all this stuff? I'm not saying you can't find things hard. Like, of course you can find things hard. There are tough days. That's why coaches come into place. That's why we're here, because we help you and we hold you accountable. That's why I still have a coach, and why Adam has a coach, and we'll always have a coach, because we're obsessed with self-development. But there's a difference there between finding things hard and I think having that bit of woe is me mindset of thinking like, oh God, like life is so difficult because I have to do this. You actually don't have to do this, but you do get to do it. And it is a massive privilege, an absolutely massive privilege. It is a privilege that you wake up every day, full stop. It really is. It's a privilege that you wake up every day and you're in a house with a roof over your head with people that love you. And you get to decide and have the ability to better yourself and to focus on your health. We are so incredibly lucky that we get to do that. And I used to not appreciate that. I used to not appreciate that. And I feel like I've learned that more over the last few years. But honestly, I have realized that so prevalently since I lost my dad in February this year. Like, I was like, you know what? Yes, it's been a hard year, but how bloody lucky am I that I get to wake up every day and I get to go into the gym and I get to do a workout and focus on being a better me. That is a massive privilege. There are also so many people in this world that would kill for this. Like, they would kill to be in a program, in a coaching program, or they would kill to be able to have the ability to go to the gym, to move freely, like fully able-bodied, and to be able to pick what they want to eat and have the meals they want to have. A lot of people can't do that, and they would absolutely die to be able to do that. So, what I mean is, you don't have to do this, but you do get to do this. Yes, there are going to be hard moments on this journey. Like, yes, there's going to be tough times. Believe me, I get it. And I have frequently very tough days. I was feeling a bit sorry for myself getting back into the gym yesterday because I was a bit hungover from my hen do, you know. It's okay to have moments like that. It's just, it's a slippery slope if we find ourselves falling into the victim mentality and staying there. That's when it becomes a bit of a, okay, maybe this is a mindset thing I need to address. And this is something that I massively used to struggle with. But the second that you kind of zoom out, and actually realize how lucky you are to be doing this and how lucky you are that you're fully able-bodied and you can do this and you're able to work on your health and decide to make that change. That is a massive privilege and that is a really incredibly lucky thing. That is everything I wanted to go through with you with this week, guys. I hope this has been helpful. So just to recap, 5 things that I've had to learn that I wanted to pass on to all of you is you're not going to be motivated all of the time. That's very normal. The scale is never going to make you happy. The scale is a part of your journey, but it shouldn't be the entirety of it, and it shouldn't be the only thing you care about. Your future is going to be built on ordinary days. This process isn't going to be glamorous and sexy and fun all the time. There are going to be days where it's really boring and really repetitive, but that's what works and that's what's required. The next one, you are much more capable of things than you have convinced yourself that you are. Most of the labels and the limitations that we put on ourselves are self-inflicted. We have the power to break through that and to change that and change our relationship to that. And the final thing is, you don't have to, you get to. It's truly such a privilege that we're able to do this together and we're able to do this. And it's a really great thing. A lot of people wish they could. So that's everything I wanted to go through. I'm going to let you guys all go. I hope this has been really helpful. As always, if you have any further questions or anything you want to discuss, either drop me a message one-to-one, put it in the group chat, anything you fancy. But it's been good to have so many of you guys here, and I hope this has been really helpful. I'm going to let you guys all go, and I will catch up with you on the next one. Take care, everybody.